most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to The C-Spot with Wendy Cooper, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Thursday, and I'm not sure what day it is, what date it is, but it's some date in September, in case you're listening to this in 3 years from now. Anyway, it is LA Talk Radio, and this is the C-Spot, the place that we talk about everything you need to know about bringing a product to market, even if that product is you. So, my guest today, we're going to be talking about media today and buying short form media, basically, and direct response. And we're going to learn lots and lots and lots about doing that with a really great guy. And I'm going to introduce him right now. And then I'll give you the website so you can check out his website as we're going through the process and having a great conversation on today's show. Anyway, my guest today is... I have to, the intro actually got messed up when it was sent over to me, so bear with me here. Scott Kowalczyk actually is the president and CEO of Direct Avenue, an amazing short-form media buying company for direct response. He started his career, I believe it goes like this. He started his career with ICG, which is a company owned by Carrot, working in the general market accounts. Then he went on to direct marketing world, working with Williams Worldwide Television, which I did not know. And then he started the short form division, direct response division, or the short form division for Euro RSCG. Now, okay, that in itself is a big deal for those of you listening that know Euro. Huge. Anyway, clients range from traditional direct marketing accounts to top brand corporate accounts, all looking to achieve a better ROI. He has a personal passion for business that inspires his team, his clients, and all those that work with him, and I can vouch for that because it's amazing the difference between working with Direct Avenue's team as opposed to other media companies. I'm not slamming anybody that I've worked with, but I got to tell you, working with Scott's team is amazing. Hey, Scott, are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello. How are you? By the way, thanks for having me on the show. And I've listened to it before. And it's a great show that you have every week.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, thank you for being on the show. And you actually sound really great. Although Scott is in his office in San Diego or thereabouts, I am in the studio, but he sounds really exceptional. Okay, so today, Scott, we're gonna inform lots of people listening about really what it's about to do, short form direct response media. So my first question to you is, number one, tell us about Direct Avenue, and then I'll hit you with some really good questions. All right, so give us a little recap on Direct Avenue.
Well, Direct Avenue, as you were saying, we specialize in expert planning, placement, analysis, and management of short-form direct response and branded direct response TV. We work with clients in the U.S. and Canada, both in English and Spanish. And the length of the commercials that we work with our clients can range from a 15-second commercial all the way up to 5 minutes in length. So we have a wide variety of length of commercials, and with the different length of commercials that we air, of course, every single client has a different goal, as you know, Wendy. So, and we can go into more specifics with that. But Direct Avenue, I started 5.5 years ago. I've been in the direct response marketing space for just about 18 years. And the entire time I've been in the space, I've been in the media buying side of things. I did start in short form. I did a little bit of long form. Didn't stay in long form. I was only there for a few months when I was working way back in the 90s at Williams Worldwide, but I didn't have a passion for it. To me, to be honest with you, there wasn't enough variety there, and I wasn't interested in buying these half-hour, 28-minute, and 30-second long-form blocks of time to me, it felt like it was a little, no offense to anyone out there listening, but boring. And short form, there was changes that would happen every single day, all the time, between different lengths of commercials, between different types of cable networks, broadcast networks, syndicated shows. There were so many things and so many ways you can place media for clients that, to me, it was very exciting, and it is exciting. So the reason, once again, why I stayed in short form is because I had a passion for it, and Direct Avenue started because I left my previous company for this opportunity. I built and helped build two other companies' short form divisions, and I said to myself, you know what, if I don't do it now and take the shot, I'll never be able to do it. And the last thing I wanted to do is 20 or 30 years from now sit back and go, I wish I tried, or I wish I did, instead of now I can say, I'm glad I tried and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a lot of it's a lot of hard work. The first couple of years starting the business was a grind. Of course, not the best idea. Didn't realize that the recession was going to happen. Although you put your head down, and if you want something bad enough, you can get it. And
yeah,
so
that's a lot of people don't have that courage, right? And
right.
And fear, we're all fear driven, and if you can conquer your fear, I just had this conversation with my 21-year-old the other day. There's a place for fear in our lives, and so you have to be able, that fear is there for us to go out and challenge and grow from it. So, and you've done a really, really great job. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting because I was talking to you just before the show, and I was saying, I'd love to hit on these topics, and then you just mentioned, you were doing long form with Williams. And by the way, what years were you at Williams? Not to go into any detail, but were you there in
I started there in the early mid '90s, and I left there the first quarter of 1999, and
okay.
That's when in 1999.
Okay.
That summer is when I started with Euro.
Yeah, because we bought 6 Day Bio Diet. A lot of the media was bought at Williams in 94, 95, 96. So that was kind of interesting.
Yes.
Long form. So anyway, okay. So what I thought was really interesting, and I still don't grab it, right? When my clients ask me about it, is clusters, satellite, all of the different ways to buy short form media. Cover-ups. There's so many different, that's why it's so exciting, is because you can fashion a campaign so many different ways as opposed to just buying, 2830 that's going to air at KDOC on Sunday morning.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit just about that? Because I don't think that a lot of people understand, really that about media buying.
Well, that's very true. Just for media buying in the United States, you have for short form, sometimes some people call it spot media buying, but it is a little different. Just, spot buying is more of a general market term. For all these different media outlets that you can buy out there with a 30-second or a 60-second commercial, it's enormous. As you touched on satellite providers, DRTV, Dish Network. Also, one that's been coming up over the past few years is ATT-Uverse. They all have potential for clients and campaigns to go there and really drive their response and really get their brand out there. And you cannot do that, for example, in long-form media because a lot of the DirecTV and Dish and ATT, as you say, clusters, they don't all have paid programming blocks. Some of them do have blocks of time, but not as much as short-form media does. And the reason for that is just because they don't have the programming, enough programming available to insert all these half-hour paid programming time. I think it's DirecTV or Dish, one or the other. We don't buy long form, but I know they do have a channel, for example, dedicated to the 24/7 infomercial channel.
Yeah, well, we're focusing, I know long form is a different show, so just focusing on short form and talking about short form, that's really where that type of media planning comes in, right? Because
Correct, it does. And the other thing about short form, not just the satellites, but for example, you can't go into syndicated shows in long form, and especially network shows. You can't really do that with long form. With short form, you have the ability to go in so many different avenues, and especially this time of year, and especially since it's a political year, in the short form space, the opportunity for clients to make sure that they don't get shut out of advertising time because of all the political money coming into the market is huge. The political campaigns are really, of course, going into a lot of the swing states, and that's going to bombard all those states and markets within the state to not have enough advertising time for those that need to buy in the local markets.
Right. But in direct response, and in short-form direct response, I always preach to my clients that, we shouldn't go into those local markets, that we should stay in the national cable because more eyeballs, and actually at the end of the day, it's really not that much more expensive. People have this preconceived notion that, I can't go on television or I can't launch my product through direct response television. I can't afford it. It's too expensive. I don't have $50 million or $2 million or $1 million. And I've talked to successful companies that really believe that they don't belong on television because they can't afford it, because they're comparing themselves to these large brands that are out there with these $30 million media budgets that they got $30 million. They're going to spend it. But that's not how direct response works.
No, it's not. And direct response advertisers, just so those of you who are not familiar with it, spend billions of dollars each year, and for many reasons. First one, it's very cost effective. The direct response advertisers, we go in at rates anywhere between 30 and 70% below the general market rates out there. So right out of the gate, you're going in at a much lower cost. Number two, it's accountability. Every single direct response station and network that we air on has a dedicated 800 number or URL to track. And if you can track properly, in which we do, and most agencies can, you can find out exactly which networks, which stations, which day parts, which shows perform best, and which ones that do not perform, you can immediately get rid of them and not buy them for the clients anymore.
Right, as opposed to going out and saying, okay, here's my media budget, and we're gonna, we want to be in The Bachelor, right? And we want to be in the center of The Bachelor. This is the kind of stuff that big companies are paying for. They dictate and they say, this is the show we want to be in. This is the networks we want to be on. These are the times we want to air. We want to be slotted in the middle of the best, Super frickin' Bowl, but,
right.
Direct response, short form is not bought that way. It's not planned that way. But there are certain criteria that you have to follow in order to get those reduced rates and air. Now, before we talk about anything else, I want everybody listening to know that I'm talking to Scott Kowalczyk, and he's the CEO of Direct Avenue Media, correct? Is it Direct Avenue or Direct Avenue Media?
Direct Avenue.
Okay, and Direct Avenue. And if you are listening, if you're listening online at latalkradio.com, or even if you're listening from iTunes later on, you can go to the website, which is directavenue.com, and you can see all about Scott's company. So just wanted to throw that in there. Okay. So,
nice plug.
Super plug. That's what it's all about. This is the plug place. Anyway. Now we're already at 12:15 Pacific Standard Time, and I have to watch the clock because we get carried away and we start talking, and there's so much to talk about, so I want to make sure we hit on all of the subjects that we should be hitting on. So just really real quick, When you say tracking, now I know what you're talking about, right? I just want to make sure everybody listening understands what you're talking about. We were recently at a conference, at the D2C conference in Las Vegas, and I had a meeting with, a company that's new to the short form space. And and they said, well, we got five 800 numbers. And I said, I don't care. You can't use your 800 numbers. We have to be able to track, because it's a soft offer. We have to be able to track your media. Therefore, we have to track that through the telemarketing company, which then supplies the 800 numbers, which then supplies those 800 numbers to the media company that then places them in the commercials depending on the station. Or explain a little bit about how that works, because tracking and quantifiability is everything in direct response.
Correct. So very basic 101, when the creative and production is completed, the producer sends that tape over to that, or the master tape over to the dub house. The dub house is the company that makes copies of the commercial, and what they do is they encode a different 800 number to each network or station or syndicated show that's going to be airing the commercial. And the reason why they need a different number for each station or show or network is, once again, going back to when it airs, we get a download every single morning from the telemarketing companies that receive all the data from when people call in. There's calls and orders and revenue that's generated from these consumers calling in. It gets downloaded into our system every single morning, and based off of that, we can look and see results of exactly which exact time that a commercial aired, and we can see exactly how many responses came in. So by doing this tracking, we as a media buying company can manage and massage the media to where we're going to make sure that we get the best return on investment for our clients. Because if something's working really, if we have a big airing, for example, that aired even this morning, and we want to see how it did, we can even look online and talk to the call center. We can see how much came in as far as calls, orders, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So, and another reason why I love this space is because you can respond immediately. You don't have to wait a few weeks or a month. Like some of these general market accounts out there, they put in buys that are there and stay there for 3 months, 6 months, a year out. Things change. Media changes every single day. And by tracking these results, we can maximize the client's ROI, not just weekly, but daily, to make sure they get the return that they need in order for them to grow their campaign and their business.
Right.
And as long as you do that, they will be successful.
Yeah. So, okay. There's so many things that I so want to talk about and share. So that's going to be another show where I'm going to have you back, because, no, seriously, there's just too many things. As you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, well, let's explain this. Okay, well, let's talk about that. And we just can't fit it all into one show. So,
got it.
Doing the 800 numbers are very important, and it's very important not to use vanity numbers unless you want to drive everything into one place and you actually have that center, and you really don't care about really tracking your performance. As you were talking, the measurement is called an MER. It's called a media efficiency ratio, and we call it an MER. Some people refer to it as a MER, which I think is funny, because I for 20 years have said MER, and so when somebody goes, "What's the MER?" It's like, what? The MER?
Yeah.
I don't know what you say, Scott, but I think you say MER.
No, I don't say MER.
MER. That's when you know somebody's new. But anyway, so that's media efficiency ratio. So just to to explain that a little bit, that is if you spend $100 in media, it's what the return, the sales are on that $100 that you've put into media. So obviously, spend $100 and you sell $200, that's a 2.1 MER. MER.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And
just I'm not going to get too.
Go ahead.
You can stop me because I don't want to go too far into it.
Right.
There's a lot of potential direct response people that may be listening, going, well, how do I know what my break even is? Some people sometimes say, well, what if I hit a 1.0 MER or a 2.0 or 3? How do I know what my break even point is, and how do I measure that?
Well, wait, Scott, I got to stop you there. If you don't know what your break even MER is, people, you should not be in the business, okay?
I know that. You're right. And I have gotten calls from clients, and I'm very respectful for all of them. I love all the inventors and entrepreneurs out there that love to get into the space. Hey, I can't criticize them because they're coming here.
I know.
So we even as an agency, my CFO has a financial analysis for people who come to us and aren't sure of that, and we walk them through the whole process of helping them figure out their back end numbers if they don't know how to do that themselves. We don't charge anything for that. We just want to make sure that they understand the business in their space to make them successful.
Right, because that's very important. I always tell people that there's 3 MERs actually. There's your break-even MER, there's your performance MER, and then there's your rebookable, basically. Because
correct.
Your performance MER can suck, but your rebookable, meaning you're going to go and rebook that station or you're going to go and rebook that time slot. That's the MER that's really important. Well, they're all important. Your break-even MER, by the way, people, you'll hear out there, for people that don't know, you'll hear out there, well, you got to have a 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1. Yeah, that was the golden number for many years, but I, not to toot my own horn, but I'm tooting it. Your performance MER is only, it has to relate to your break-even MER. So if your break-even MER is a 1.1 and your performance MER is a 1.8, hallelujah. But if your break-even MER is a 1.9 and your performance MER is the golden 2.1, forget about it, right? You're not making enough money. So your break-even MER is really, 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 really significantly important to your overall plan, and you must know what that is before you step one foot in the door of even thinking about doing a direct response campaign.
That is true. And then just to add to that, I know we've been talking about 800 numbers, and I briefly mentioned URLs, and there's also SMS codes that you can put on creatives to get response from people. In today's direct marketing environment, it's not like it was 10, 15 years ago where you could throw a commercial on TV with an 800 number on it, have it half-ass complete and say, hey, it either works or it doesn't. Today, you have to make sure that every single vendor and every single I and T is dotted and crossed before you push the go button, because in these economic times, it is a lot more data-driven, because it's not just by phone number. There's phone numbers, there's URLs, there's people going to the websites, there's mobile, there's email. There's so many different areas that people can bring all the responses in and put it under one bucket to see what their final return on investment is. And TV is the driving force behind all of those, and it's been proven.
Right.
They are all really great outlets as far as the email and the SMS and the online. It's all great. In the retail, if it's a product that's in retail, that's all fantastic as far as a client making more profit. But the bottom line is, if you don't have a TV campaign driving people to either respond
one way or another,
by the phone, one way or another, or even walking into a store, you are not going to have a successful campaign.
Okay, so I'm going to chime in here because you know me, I've and you don't like the fact that we just did the campaign where I drive everything to a URL, because I have for years. Because the cost of a telemarketing center, that's a whole different story in running a metrics for a campaign. But the cost of a phone call sometimes outweighs the benefit of using a call center. The benefit of using a call center for short form media buying is that you are able to explicitly track where that airing, where the money's coming from, where the sales are coming from, exactly to the airing. When now we're seeing close to 80% of all responses really going onto the web, going onto mobile, going onto tablet. So I always tell my clients when I'm managing their campaign, let's eliminate the call center if we can, only if we can. Now, those are with hard offers of $19.99. Those are not soft offers of, larger amounts. Because with 80% of the people are going to go online. The old testimonial that used to be the testimonial within the commercial, the review online is now the testimonial. So I have to do a whole show on web because it's so important to understand that television drives it all. It drives it all. You don't think for a moment that you're going to spend way more money trying to get your product out there and heard and seen and known, and this is leading us somewhere, by the way. On the web, you probably way better off using television to build your awareness, to drive your sales on the web, because you have to have a web presence. Ideally, you love to be in retail, but most purchases are really happening on the web. So
for that has gone up dramatically, even over the past year, as far as the amount of revenue or orders or responses. If someone's just looking for a lead on the web today, than it has been even over the past year, 2 or 3, because it's so much easier for people to go online now, as we were saying not too long ago, with mobile and iPads and who knows what else Apple and other companies are going to come up with, that it's going to be quicker, easier, and faster for people to respond.
Okay, so this is bringing me to the key. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and I told you before the show I have something to share, oddly enough, with you that I want to get your opinion. And I don't know if we've spoken about this in the past, but I find it very interesting that, everybody is talking about, social this. We all know Facebook ads don't work. I actually read an article this morning that, the mom and pop Facebook ad works better than the Target or Walmart or whatever it was ads work on Facebook. And I don't think any of them are working, by the way. But anyway, but there's this thing called shareability, okay? And I find it interesting, and I want your opinion on this, as how do we measure shareability? Now, shareability to me is, let's say Molly is watching television and she sees a commercial and she sees the product and she decides, well, I'm really interested in that product. I'm going to go online. And she goes online and she reviews it. She sees the product. And then she says, well, I'm not going to buy it right now, but I'm going to tell Mary about it. Right? And I'm going to go on Facebook and put it on Facebook, or I'm going to put it on Twitter. I'm going to send her an email. This is social or shareability factors. And then Mary, I think it was Mary, and then Mary maybe buys it, and then Mary tells 10 of her friends. And so what happens is the commercial that we don't think in standard terms of looking at performance of the commercial and how the commercial actually performed, we just can't measure the shareability factor of that one response, or many of them. Do you see where I'm going with this?
I do, and that's so true today. For example, and a lot of commercials, I'm gonna bring it back to some TV, but it's hitting on the multi-screen mania that people have out there, with people having 2 screens, 3 screens, 4 screens. 2 screens meaning like a TV and a computer, or a TV computer and a smartphone, or a TV computer, smartphone, tablet in their lap while they're watching TV or doing something.
Yes.
So people are kind of like on a unicycle, throwing everything in the air at once, going, oh my gosh, what do I have? Where should I respond next? So the response, when people see things for the first time, today they may not respond right away. We, Direct Avenue, we see with our clients, we see a lot more, shall I say, drag drag data coming in. I'll explain that. When a commercial airs, you see a big hit of calls or response right away. And in the past, that would maybe last. People would call in or respond maybe a day or two, possibly 3 after an airing, because maybe they wrote the phone number down and would remember it.
Right,
you know,
right.
A
Or
day
they
or
get
two
to
later.
work and they do it at work or whatever. Right.
Today, I've seen as long as pretty much 4 to 6 weeks of drag response from people that are watching the commercial on television, because it's a lot more. It's the percentage of drag per dollar of airing. So let's say we had $1,000 commercial that aired, and let's say that we typically would get 100 responses even after the drag. So 3 to 5 days after, there'd be 100 responses. Today, I see $1,000 airing, but after that airs, on the same type of campaign, the drag would be 4 to 6 weeks, and that percentage, instead of 100, I would be seeing more like maybe 115 or 125. So there's a 15 to 20% increase that I have seen today from a few years back as far as the drag amount of people, and quote unquote, I'll say that going into the sharing, as you said. So people are not just typing it in on their on their phones, but they're sharing it on the social sites.
Exactly.
And they may be sharing that same exact number or URL or text message. So that's where I get that increase in drag response.
Right.
So I hope that kind of goes in the direction where you're thinking.
Well, it does, and it doesn't. It does. That was a very good learning experience, and that was nice. And it does. What I'm trying to figure out, and I've been thinking about this for about a month now, is how when we run a metrics, how when we run our numbers, how do we factor in the shareability factor? Okay, so if we look at my the break-even MER is a 1.5, all right, and my performance MER, off the at the end of the week is a 2.3. God bless you. But anyway, it's a 2.3, right? But there's a shareability factor that is not factored into that 2.3. Let me back up. My break-even MER is a 1.5, and my performance MER is a 1.8. But yet, I have yet to be able to factor in the shareability that's going on out there in the social universe, and it is pretty much social. Let's say drag is sharing 800 numbers, but it's that social universe that's out there. So, when will we be able to come up with? Well, let's see. There's a line item on our metrics that is basically the shareability factor.
No, I understand that, and you know what? I know dozens of agencies out there right now that claim they have this gold reporting.
There's no way in hell that anybody can do that. There's no way.
Well, people claim they can. I'm not going to, of course, mention any companies that claim they have the golden data system for this, but it's trackable, but it's not 100% trackable because it's physically impossible today. Although with the right systems and the right analytics, you can come close. And I'll say every year it's getting better, and it's going to have to get better every year because we already have these smart televisions that are out in the
let's not even talk about those. Let's not even go there because that I have to tell you that interactive smart television stuff it's 5 years away. It's still 5 years away.
Well, that's true. Although my point is, as far as getting back to the data and tracking everything.
Yeah.
Each year or 2 or 3, technology is growing, and as technology is growing, there are going to be so many other different ways for people to respond. And the key thing is how do we know exactly where every single person is responding from and when, based on one ad they saw.
Right, exactly.
That's the goal. That's what everyone's trying to figure out there, and people are doing a good job.
Okay. All right. So we only have about 5, 10, 15 minutes left. So there's a couple of other things. Sorry to cut you off, but I have so many things I want to talk about. There's also I wish we could get into it, when you run a 2-minute ad and when you run a 30 and a 60, when you drive retail, when you tag retail, what does it all mean? What's it all about? We should write a song. but we don't.
Well, I was going to say, I'll touch on a couple of these quick things, because I know you said the timing on this. In the DRTV space, for people that are out there, and the question that I've heard sometimes is, is it scalable? Of course it's scalable. There's never a shortage of media opportunities out there. Regardless, there's a mix of commercial lengths and media properties out there. So that's not a problem. And the other thing that's great about DRTV, direct response television, it is recession proof. But guess what? It's accountable, it's immediate, and it's specific. So every day, there's media that's added, canceled, and revised, because we have the opportunity to do that.
Right.
When we place our media on the books, it's not guaranteed to clear. And the reason why is, going back to what I said when we were first started, we put in rates that are 30 to 70% below the general market value. So we have to follow up with these stations and networks on our media buys every single day to make sure that we not only clear the media or air the media that we purchased, but we want to make sure we're getting the best return on investment for every single one of our clients every single day. And there's, once again, and the reason why it's recession-proof is because we put a rate in that we know is going to perform for the client.
Right. So that brings me to, this is a funny thing. I have to say this to people because this is, hopefully people are taking away from the show their learning experience, right? I was on a phone call once, and it was a few years ago, and I was on this phone call, and we were waiting for other people to come on the line. And so we were talking about, I think I had a short form on the air at the time, and somebody chimed in from a media company. They chimed in and they said, well, if you're not clearing, you're not paying enough. And I was like, you're kidding me, right? There's a certain, when you're choosing a media buying company for direct response, you have to make sure you're not choosing that one because that's not cool. You don't want to pay the highest rate unless, like back in the day with Typo, they went out and they bought all of the media and they just, they bid above everybody else so that they would just own the airwaves. And that strategy worked for them back then. But you have to be really careful of any media company that basically is going to say, you just got to pay more. There's a threshold that you meet in order to be within your numbers. Right, Scott?
True. No, it's definitely true. And the problem is there's a lot of people, no offense to salespeople out there, but there's salespeople that need to be more educated in media buying. And one of the huge successes that we have had at Direct Avenue the last 5.5 years is I've been in buying media for the last 18 years, and I know exactly the day parts, the networks, the shows that work, that don't work, approximate rates that work or don't work, certain local markets. So I know all that. So when someone says what you just said, my first response is, you have no idea what you're talking about. Right. And if that's the way you're pitching your company or your business, you're going to fail. People who are considering DRTV and a DRTV agency, the first thing is they need to make sure that the agency has a history of success on TV and also experience in the category and vertical.
Exactly. And I think that it would be really great right now for, your company is Direct Avenue, everybody directavenue.com, talking to Scott Kowalczyk. We have 10 minutes left in the show, but how about if you talk about, some of your clients have been on, you buy a lot of media, and you have some very recognizable clients. Is it okay
Correct.
for you to tell people who they are, or you don't want to talk about that, or you don't want to bet juju on it, or whatever?
Well, I didn't get approval for them to go public, but I'll give you one example. One example that there's a product out there. It's a diet product called Lipozene.
Right. Everybody knows Lipozene.
A lot of people know about them. I've been working for that with and for this client for about 9 years. And after I started Direct Avenue, I stopped working with them for 2 years. And then when my non-compete was up, they came over and started working with me 3.5 years ago. And we basically took them, and this is a very good success story, and I'm happy to tell it. We took them from spending, they were doing well, and then they weren't doing well. And when I took them over, they were spending about $20,000 or $30,000 a week, and they were hurting. And you jump ahead today, and I'm not saying their media spend, but they're doing very well, and they're all over retail stores all over the United States, and they're probably going to have their best year in history. So it's taking, and the key to success in this space, there's a lot of different direct response types of clients and products.
Right.
And this one example, just so people know, it's a diet product that's looking to get a MER, media efficiency ratio, so they're looking to get a return on investment. And of course, they're pushing retail as well. But the key thing in this space, you have to really, I'll use the word, grind out media rates and opportunities with stations and salespeople. And in this business, it is all about relationships. Sometimes people talk about how much media to buy. Oh, you can leverage that against your station that you're talking to. Yes, although it's not just that, it's your relationship that you have with them and your persistence as a media buying company to stay on top of the media buys on a daily basis that's going to get you the results that you need. And there is a lot of complacency in this space where media buyers put a buy in the system and send it to a network, and then a week or two or a week later they'll find out, did it clear? Did it run? Did it respond well? Did it not respond well? That's not everyone, although whoever's looking for a direct response agency, please make sure you do your homework, because there is a lot of complacency in the space.
Yes.
And
So
for us here at,
I was
just going to say, for us here at Direct Avenue, it's a passion for what we do.
Yes, and now I am gonna interrupt you again because I can.
That's fine.
And I am going to say that what you're saying, because for you to say it about yourself is one thing, but for me to say it as a client who is a very satisfied client who has bought media, both long form and short form, for very successful campaigns over the years that I've run, I have to tell you, everybody listening, that, and I'm not just saying this, it's just true. I have never worked with a company, no matter how much you're spending, your team will call me every day. I could be spending $3,000, I could be spending $50,000. It doesn't make any difference. And I've worked with other companies where you're swept under the rug if you're not spending a lot of money. I've worked with a lot of media buying companies that are like that, and I've pulled it. Or I've worked with media buying companies that think that they know what they're talking about when it comes to your product. Like, I really analyze my product. I look at my clients' products. They're not my products. But I look at, who are these people? Where are they watching? What are they thinking? When are they sleeping? What age are they? Who are they? And sometimes the media planner within the media company doesn't get it. They don't get it. They just assume, okay, this is somebody over 60 years old. Well, they're going to be up late at night because they're old. No, people, they're sleeping. More than young people. The younger people are the ones that are up late at night. The older people, they're sleeping. So, you have to partake and have a good relationship also with your media buying team, and let them teach you. And if you ever have or are suspect that you're not really getting the attention that you need, then you're not getting the attention that you need, and that's one thing about Direct Avenue that, I think is amazing, is because no matter what, you're getting the attention. So.
And if, just to add to that, if, whoever anyone is working with out there as far as a media buying agency, if you call them at 8 in the morning and they don't call you back till noon, okay, why not? in this space, if it's about response, not just responding for a campaign that's on the air, but if your agency gets back to you on a timely manner, exactly when they say they're going to get back to you, guess what? They're on your campaign and making it work for you. Right. If they're not getting back to you on a timely manner, no matter what situation or reason for getting in contact with you is, that means they have other clients that are more of a priority than you. Right. And to me, that doesn't sit well.
So, I always tell people, when I was at Dual Action Cleanse and over there at Irwin Naturals many years ago and running that campaign, I used to, I was working with people that were new and they weren't really in the business, and I would say, direct response means that you have to directly respond to things every day, that everything needs your attention. And if you can't directly respond right away to, issues that come up, they cannot wait. In this business, they cannot wait. You can't say, I'll do that tomorrow. You have to respond to it, because if you don't, it's like a domino damage effect. It just goes right down the line. So it's the urgency in the direct response business is so critical, especially with media. Also, I've called you guys up and I've said, pull it. We're not getting the response that I need. I got to get out of it. See what you can do to get out of it. And more than not, you were able to get me out of most of it. Well, whatever it was that I was trying to get out of. Sometimes I couldn't get out of all of it, which totally understandable. But you were there. You were there.
Yes. And that's another good thing, that in this direct response space, you're not locked in. So you can get out of pretty much anything within a 3 to 5 business day window, and you can get on anything just as quickly as long as the inventory is there.
Right, and you don't let anybody tell you that. You got to look, let's book a month out, let's book 2 weeks out. Okay, book it. If you can get amazing rates or whatever, book it. But you should always be able to fire sale it or get out of it if you want to, especially if you've booked a month in advance. If a media company is telling you that you can't get out of it, bullshit.
No, that goes back to the way companies are managed from the top down. And since I love media and I've got a passion for it, I look at every single proposal, every single client, everything, every single week. And the bottom line, at the end of the day, the company that's going to succeed for their clients has a true passion for what they do. If you have a passion for what you do and you're going to get it done, you will succeed. And there are too many people that, going back to the word complacency, they just follow somebody else's lead.
2-minute countdown. Okay, so I've been talking to Scott. Thank you so much for being on the show. I just want to make sure I get all the information in. It is Scott Kowalczyk. He is the CEO of Direct Avenue, directavenue.com. Scott, what's the phone number if somebody wants to call and talk to, your team about, and real quick,
760-579-4210.
Okay, and you can call and talk to whomever you answers the phone. And
you can call me. I'll answer, or you can use Scott at directavenue.com and email me any questions that you may have, or if you just want to talk about something, I'll be more than happy to help you out in regards to this space.
You don't want to talk about somebody's love life or something like that. But anyway, okay.
No, I don't.
So Scott, you have been wonderful. I'm going to have you on the show again because there's a lot of things we did not get to talk about. But that won't be until late November or somewhere around there because I am booked until that time. So I am so happy about that. I got to check the time. Hold on. Okay, I still have a little bit of time. I'm going to pitch myself. So you've been listening to the C-Spot, and I really would love people to visit the Facebook page, C-Spot Talk. I do have a blog, and I'm trying to blog, and that's also called cspottalk.com. People, it's the letter C. It is not S-E-E. You can email me at Wendy, W-E-N-D-I, with letter C, spotrun.com. I would love to hear from all of my fans, and I know I have tons of them. Gotta check the time. Anyway, I love doing the show, and I love that everyone that listens. Please, I'm available if you want to talk. I do campaign consulting for direct response, and I also produce direct response commercials. And
Wendy is fantastic at what she does.
Oh, thank you, Scott. You're sweet. Anyway, this has been a real pleasure, and I thank you, and I can't wait to have you on the show again. And everyone, you've been listening to LATalkRadio.com. This is the C-Spot, the place where we talk about everything you need to know about bringing your product to market, even if the product is you. I will talk to all of you next week. Thanks. Bye.
You are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to The C-Spot with Wendy Cooper, right here on LA Talk Radio.